there.
I just love all the new things Kmart has here.
Oh, I can see that.
So that's the new Super Nintendo Entertainment System.
What about it?
They say it has 16-bit technology, whatever that means.
Oh, I see. What else do they say?
That it has 3D graphics and digital stereo sound, and that Super Mario World is included.
Okay. We'll get it for them.
Yes!
Ah, the Super Nintendo. If you grew up with this console, you know how sweet this machine was as a kid. For me, this is when gaming started to get serious. With the ability to tell deeper stories, richer graphics, complex game mechanics, and the save feature becoming more and more common to allow games to feel more like an adventure and less of a quick play session. So many SNES titles have aged like fine wine, from Mario World, A Link to the Past, Donkey Kong Country, Turtles in Time, Final Fantasy, and the onslaught of fighting games we got in this generation like Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, and Killer Instinct. All of these titles, in my opinion, are great to play even to this day, but there is so much more that this legendary console has to offer. The SNES has a deep library full of hidden gems. In this video, we're going to go over my picks of obscure, rare, or little-known SNES titles that, in my opinion, have stood the test of time, and if you missed them, or if the SNES was before your time, these are definitely worth checking out, even to this day. So without further ado, let's dive into my picks of obscure SNES games you have to play. Pirates of Darkwater. Pirates of Darkwater is a game I had no idea existed until I purchased a big lot of games and it was inside the box of games. I priced it out, learned it was actually one of the more expensive games in the lot, and then I decided to boot it up. To my surprise, I was actually blown away by how good it was. I thought it was just some random title that sold poorly, was trash, and only pricey due to its rarity. Turns out, it was a hidden gem. I learned in this research for the video as well that it was a TV show that the game is based on. Now the game itself, it's a side-scrolling beat-em-up style game, but with some good depth. From the character select screen, you're presented with 3 choices, from a balanced fighter, or a fighter with low agility, high strength, or a fast, high agility, low strength character. The combat offers quick combos, strong attacks, super moves, and even blocking and grappling, making it almost feel a bit more like a fighting game at times mixed with a beat 'em up. The controls feel tight and responsive too. Some of these games from this generation get that really rigid feeling, but Pirates feels great, up there with the best of them in regards to how well it plays. It's got some good boss fights, even though some of the enemies do get a little repetitive at times, except D-Rider? Who named that one? It does make up for its repetitiveness in other ways that you might not even care or notice on your playthrough. Overall, Pirates of Darkwater is one of those games you probably haven't heard of or played, but if you're a fan of those 16-bit beat-em-up style games, do yourself a favor and give this one a go. Hidden gem for sure. Zombies Ate My Neighbors. Next up, we've got a classic, Zombies Ate My Neighbors. As a kid, I used to play this one all the time at a friend's house, and it is super hard. Fair warning. I played through it and beat it on stream last year, so check out my guides and playthrough of that if you want to see me get frustrated to all hell. But that aside, Zombies Ate My Neighbors is a top-down, run-and-gun style game that released in 1993. It's got a pretty simple concept, save as many neighbors from monsters as possible and get out before you die. But this game is more than just that. The weapons vary from a squirt gun filled with holy water, cans of soda, cutlery and dishes, and even a weed whacker. Use all the tools at your disposal to shoot, hack, and slash through classic old horror movie and Halloween-inspired monsters like zombies, chainsaw-wielding masked men, aliens, blobs, giant babies, mummies, vampires, werewolves, killer toys, squid men, you get the picture. There is no shortage of enemy variety in this game. Each stage takes you through a very classic horror movie-inspired setting, starting in the neighborhood, and then you go into tombs, malls, castles, hedge mazes, graveyards. There is no save feature in this game, but it does give you a code every 4 levels that you can use to get back to close to where you were when, and I say when because you will lose a lot when you eventually lose. Oh, and it's co-op too. So grab a friend and check this one out. While Zombies Ate My Neighbors is not the most unknown title, as it did get a pretty good following as the years went on, it was not a commercial success at the time at all, and remains one of the pricier games to collect on the SNES. Either way, I thought it deserved a spot on the list, and if you haven't checked it out, do it. It's got some quite comical sections and scenarios as well, which make it a joy to play, even if you want to rip your hair out at times. Hagane, the Final Conflict. Now you may have heard of this one before, but I included it because it's one of those super rare and very expensive SNES titles that so many people have missed out on, and it's sad because it's actually quite good too. At the time of this video, the cartridge was moving for around $1,000 on eBay, and the complete game with box and manual was moving for around $3,000. Why is Hagane so expensive and rare? Well, I thought this game was a Blockbuster rental exclusive, but upon researching for this video, I learned that that wasn't actually true. It really comes down to the game was more often rented instead of purchased for two reasons. Its arcade style lent to a more quick play style of gaming, which was good for renting and becoming a little less popular at the time, and it just released a little bit later into the generation. PS1 was already out, the N64 was around the corner, and just so many of those games just drowned it out. Now on to the game itself. It's similar to the likes of Shinobi or a little Ninja Gaiden. You play as Hagane, who is a ninja cyborg taking revenge on an opposing ninja faction. You can switch between 4 weapons, a sword, chain, shuriken, and grenades. You've also got some special magic attacks that are essentially screen clearers if you're getting overwhelmed. There are a multitude of movement options as well that have become staples in the genre, such as wall jumps, slides, charge attacks, and jump attacks. Hagane has no pushover either, so this is a really difficult game, partially thanks to the fact that you've only got 3 hits and then it's game over. You can get some health power-ups and other power-ups, but all of those are lost upon your demise. Hagane, while not my favorite beat-em-up side-scroller style game, is worth checking out because it actually holds up decently well to today's standards because of its more in-depth combat and systems. Plus, it's super expensive, so it's kind of like playing, it feels like you're going out for fine dining in a way, looking at old fine art. No. I just want to copy this game for the collection, but at that price, I don't see it happening. Maybe one day I'll find it in a yard sale for $5. EVO, Search for Eden. EVO, Search for Eden is truly unique in the SNES library. In EVO, it is a story that occurs over 4.6 billion years. The basic plot is this. You follow the story of evolution of life on Earth and play as many different life storms created by Gaia, who is kind of like, you compare to Mother Earth, and she's the daughter of Sol, the sun. Your goal is to survive and thrive. A competition of sorts of survival of the fittest to become the best life form you can be and granted the privilege of access to the Garden of Eden. You start your journey as a mere small fish and you must bite and eat your way into becoming a bigger and stronger fish. Eventually, as you progress through the game, you work your way into getting onto land, and then you can choose to become stronger and how you want to evolve specifically, like bigger body, teeth, horns, etc. And then these options will affect how your creature will evolve in the future game, as well as providing combat perks. This gives the game some pretty good replayability as you can choose different options each time that will influence how you turn out at the end of the game. The game plays as a side-scroller with action RPG elements, which is a little bit less of a common style on the SNES. To me, this gives EVO a little more of a modern feel, as most RPGs on the SNES are turn-based, and in modern times, turn-based has become less and less common as action RPGs take over. Overall, EVO is a very different and unique experience on the SNES, and not even just on the SNES. Its concept is not often explored in gaming, so if you're looking for something different to play, give EVO a shot. Sailor Moon, Another Story. Now, if you're looking for a classic 16-bit RPG you probably never played, here you go. Pretty Soldier, Sailor Moon, Another Story, or Bishoujo Senshi, Sailor Moon, Another Story, is a turn-based RPG in the likes of Chrono Trigger or Final Fantasy that was released in Japan on the 22nd of December in 1995. The game never arrived on Western shores and did not receive an official translation, but the game has been translated in ROM since as far back as 1999, so while you won't find an official English version that you can boot up on your official hardware, this one can be enjoyed in more creative ways, we'll say. And that being said, it is worth checking out. Unlike other Sailor Moon games of the time, this one goes full and deep into the RPG genre. It's got a full world to explore, attacks, spells, abilities, weapons and armor, items for healing, etc. This game fully embraces all those classic RPG elements of the 90s. You could choose all 10 of the Sailor Guardians for your party, although the party size does cap at 5, so choose your favorites. For the Sailor Moon fans, the plot lies somewhere between the 3rd and 4th seasons of the anime. A sorceress named Apsu arrives from the 30th century and forms a group of girls from Crystal Tokyo called the Opposito Guardians. She then orders them to change the past to affect the future to her desires, in an attempt to attain the Silver Crystal. Of course, it's up to Sailor Moon and the others to change Sailor Moon's destiny back to how it was and save Crystal Tokyo. Oh, and the game has 2 endings, so that adds to its replay value. So, if you're an old school RPG fan, this one is a must-play. Secrets of Evermore. Now, despite the name and how it plays when you first get into it, it does not have any ties to the Secret of Mana franchise. Just thought I'd throw that out there first. But comparatively, it does play very similar to Secrets of Mana, like real-time battles, the ring-shaped menu system, and the ability to switch between your 2 characters. Secrets of Evermore is unique because it's the only game solely developed by the North American branch of Square. It was released on October 17th of 1995, and while it did go to Europe and Australia, this one never got a Japanese release, kind of like the opposite of Sailor Moon. Now, why would you check this one out? Well, if you're a fan of the Mana series, or you just like those old school action RPGs, this one's for you. Keeping true to many staples of the genre, from equipping upgrades of weapons and armor for bigger numbers, leveling up your character and skills, and spell system, or alchemy as they call it in this game. In this system, you must gather ingredients to cast your spells and heals as opposed to the mana or MP meter, which was pretty unique for the time. The plot follows a teenage boy and his dog, taking place in a fictional Podunk, USA. You discover a hidden lab with a large machine. Your dog chews on some wires and bam, now you're in Evermore. The bulk of the game goes through 4 different time periods: Prehistoria, which contains cavemen and dinosaurs; Antiqua, which is ancient Egyptian themed; Gothica, which is mostly like castles and dragons; and finally Omnitopia, which is more futuristic. Another action RPG on the list, but a well-deserved spot as it holds up relatively well in the modern day. Go check it out. Demon's Crest. Next up, we have another platformer, but this one's got a little bit more depth to it than the simple jumping over holes and on the heads of enemies that you would find in a Mario or a Donkey Kong. Albeit, I do love that concept. Simple and effective. Anyways, Demon's Crest mixes the platforming genre with some mild RPG elements as well as a little Metroidvania thrown in. You play as Firebrand, who is actually an enemy character from the Ghosts and Goblins series. It consists of a little bit of, kind of an antiquated overworld system from the perspective of the modern day, where you kind of fly around the world and then you drop down and land in the levels. From there, it goes into a side-scroller, where you use an array of abilities from Fire Breath, Claws for wall climbing, and Wings for flight. As you progress through the game, you collect crests, which allow you to transform into other gargoyles and gain additional abilities. There are other items to collect as well, to provide extra hit points and consumable flasks and spell vellums, as well as talismans to level up your abilities. The story revolves around 6 crests representing 6 elements: fire, earth, water, air, time, and heaven? Alright. The demons of the demon realm have fought long for control of the crests, and 5 of them were in Firebrand's possession. Now, he was so close to infinite power, but he winds up mortally wounded as he acquires the Heaven's Crest. And a rival demon named Phalanx ambushes Firebrand and takes all of his crests except for the Fire Crest for himself. The Fire Crest is shattered then into 5 pieces, one staying in Firebrand's possession, and you guessed it, you get to get all those shards and all those crests back from Phalanx. Demon's Crest offers some pretty punishing boss fights and sequences, although it is kind of short. Short's not always bad, though. The game was received well from critics, though it ended up being a bit of a commercial flop. Luckily, this one is available on the Nintendo Switch Online service, so it remains quite easy to check out for yourself. So, what are you waiting for? Soul Blazer. Next up, we got another action RPG, Soul Blazer. Man, these action RPGs rank high on people's lists, as when I was compiling this list, I scoured the internet looking for common, little-known games that people seem to enjoy, as well as some of my own flavor thrown in, and a lot of these games were action RPGs. The plot of Soul Blazer is fairly simple. The Master, as he is called, I guess like a god or god, sends one of his heavenly divine companions in the form of a human warrior to the Frail Empire. Now that is F-R-E-I-L, not frail as in F-R-A-I-L, where the evil spirit Death Toll has destroyed all the world's villages and imprisoned all souls in monster lairs. The hero must defeat the monsters to free the world's inhabitants. That hero being named Blazer. I could see they lacked a little creativity in the plot department. Was there some sort of writer's strike in '92? I don't know. Anyways, the game scored relatively well amongst critics, and being an earlier title in the ARPG style definitely helped pave the way for the future of the genre. Nothing about Soul Blazer is particularly unique or fantastic, it's just overall solid. While it won't likely be the greatest game you've ever played, it still holds its weight on the SNES and is worth a shot. Boogerman. Yep, you read that right. Boogerman, a pick and flick adventure. Nope, that's the actual subtitle. I'm not making this up. Released first on the Genesis in '94 and later in '95 on the SNES, this game remains very unique on the platform. Overall, the graphics are good, the animations are actually very solid. The game is a 2D side-scroller platformer that plays very similar to Earthworm Jim, a classic from the 16-bit era. You use some highly specialized weapons that range from burps and farts to the almighty and powerful. Let's see if you can guess it. I'll give you 5 seconds to guess what this weapon is. Yeah, it's boogers. Your life bar is actually the color of your cape. It turns from red to yellow as you take damage, and then as you lose your life, Boogerman fades and melts away in an actually pretty cool animation. Overall, Boogerman had some fairly mixed reviews, ranking usually somewhere in the 7 to 10 range, but most reviewers were more critical of the gross antics more than the gameplay itself. The game has 20 plus levels, and there are these huts that act as checkpoints throughout. It plays overall very well and holds its own as a good Earthworm Jim alternative. Even if it's only to play for 15 minutes just to get a good laugh at the game's antics, it's worth it. So hey, if you're ever having a bad day and you need to lighten the mood, throw on Boogerman and get a good laugh. Lastly, we've got Smash TV. Smash TV was originally released on arcade in 1990 and was later ported to the SNES, Genesis, and other consoles. The game is fairly simple and very arcadey, meaning it's usually played in smaller time frames and gets hard very quickly to eat up your quarters. While that style of gameplay is quite dated, besides the popularity of roguelike games in recent years, Smash TV stands out because it's one of the few twin-stick shooters of the time, meaning it feels a little bit more modern in its movement as you can move with one stick and shoot with the other. Now, it makes it stand out on the SNES because the SNES lacks a second D-pad or stick. What they did was they actually used the A, B, X, Y buttons as a makeshift second stick. I can't think of any other games that done that. Maybe I'm wrong. Let me know down below. Now, on other consoles, such as the Genesis that it was ported to, they allowed you to actually use 2 controllers at once to control the game. The SNES, though, has it all on one due to its legendary design that's still used to this day. The plot borrows themes from popular movies such as Running Man and RoboCop, where you compete in the most violent game show of all time. The gameplay consists of 1 or 2 players shooting waves of attackers, all while collecting prize money and power-ups. Once you defeat all enemies, you exit the room and move on to the next. It is very difficult, and as I said earlier, as it was designed for arcade and as a quarter sync. Overall, Smash TV controls very well. It's worth checking out more as a piece of video game history more than anything else, as it helped to pioneer some popular features that we still use in games to this day. It did receive very high scores back in the day and is remembered fondly amongst gamers. So go check out a piece of gaming history. Well, that concludes my picks for the top 10 obscure SNES games worth playing. Let me know down below if you've played any of these in the past, and if you check out any of these games and end up liking the game, come back to the video and let me know. I hope I've given you something to play. Like this video to help the algorithm, and subscribe with notifications on if this video does well. This is a series I would like to continue. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.